Well, hello and welcome to this episode of The Visible Workplace. My name is Dr. Tom Rolley and thank you for joining me. We're jumping in with a couple of interesting developments that have happened over the last couple of days and keen to share them with you. Well, the first thing was that my son turned 16. Now, in our wisdom, my wife and I decided to have a party for him on our property. And this was both a lot of fun and somewhat problematic. Everyone had a great time. We had a whole bunch of parents over, which really helps with the management, but something happened. A couple of things happened, actually. First of all, we had a blackout. At a 16th birthday party. So, look, got to say all the kids love this. This went down absolute treat. The parents were like, okay, we're having candles. Nothing burnt down, and eventually this got fixed and the lights came back on. Party continued, music went on. So the kids all had a great time. We have a shed that is on our property, and that's where the party was. Towards the end of the night, there was some shenanigans, and unfortunately, something got damaged. Basically, a vent got pulled down, fell on the hot plate, which wasn't on, but it broke it. And this was interesting. It was interesting to me because up until that point, everything had been going great. No one had ended up hurting themselves. It was very, very, very wet. And so we had also managed to avoid having mud trampled through the shed. But the breakage suddenly led to everybody leaving very rapidly. It was certainly one way to get the party to end. But my wife had been down here and then walked off and she needed to come back up to our main house. And I was on my way down and unfortunately I slipped and fell hard on my back and winded myself. It was a very interesting experience. It was like, couldn't breathe for a couple of seconds. And I thought, oh, gee, I've done some serious damage. But in actual fact, everything was fine. But I was now covered in mud, winded, and I went back to the house. But in that moment was when all the shenanigans happened. Now, none of this is a particularly big deal, but what I wanted to bring to your attention around this situation was that we missed a critical decision-making step when we were discussing all of this. Should we have a party? Should we have it on the property? And that was, well, are we okay with things happening? And I think we assumed that we were. And it's like, okay, well, what could happen? Well, the shed could burn down. And like, oh, okay, well, that would be a disaster, but insurance hopefully will cover it. Are we okay with damages happen was not a conversation that happened. And in reviewing this is something that we should have been talking about. My wife and I said, hey, are we okay with damage? Because it meant that the shed needed repairs, but also because we were using it for the party, we didn't get to rent it out. And so there was that economic cost as well. And perhaps if we'd looked at the implications of not being able to rent out the property and also the risk of damage, we might have made a different decision about where to have the party. We might have said, you know what, actually by renting a space in town, this could mean that this is a better outcome. And so what I learned from it was that there should be a decision-making process for unusual events. And this, guess what, can be handled as a magic board. So, hey, what is the downside risk of this? What other options could we do instead if I'm unhappy to accept that risk? You see, it's all good and well if the party goes great and everything's happy, everything goes according to plan, but life often doesn't quite deliver that up. And so being able to consciously make a decision to say, I accept the downside risks is a valuable decision-making tool. And if we'd used a magic board to go through, it would have been, okay, what are we planning to do? What are the logistics looks like? What are the downside risks? And are we okay with those? And we might have made a different decision. And also, even if we'd made the same decision, we could come back and go, that's right, we discussed this and we made the call to say, yep, I'm okay with that downside risk. You see, one of the challenging things in life is that downside risk is often far more devastating than the benefits. Upside benefits might be a factor of 1.5 to maybe a 10x increase, but sometimes downside risk could be easily minus 10 times, minus 20 times, minus 150 times, significantly worse. And so when I skipped over the assessment and the discussion with my wife and my son around this could have been beneficial. Look, at the end of the day, this is all fine. Everyone had a great time. No one was injured. No one had a catastrophic event. And that is awesome. But next time around, it's like, hey, maybe we should consider what is the downside risk. Next up, well, I had an adventure with my vehicle. I drive an Amarok. I really like my Amarok. It's awesome. But we have had an extensive amount of rain lately. It just kept raining and raining and raining. It's not raining today. It hasn't rained for the last 3 days, but the ground here is still very sodden. The implications of that have been that the potholes in the Byron Shire have grown. Last night, I was driving my other son home from basketball training, cruising along nicely, and boom, hit a pothole. Now, I've hit plenty of potholes in the Amarok, but for whatever reason, we nailed it right on the edge and a flat tire. Now, this is something that is not very good to be handled by a magic board. Why is that? Well, this is a physical experience. And I gotta say that changing a tire in the dark, haven't done it before, was about zero fun. But it got done. It got done just by following the instructions step by step. There was a lot of challenges. At some point in the past, the tire had been changed before, and the first thing out of the gate was that the jack was left halved up. So if you've changed a tire before, you'll realize that when you put the new tire on, you don't have to wind the jack all the way down to be able to remove it. And this had happened. They hadn't returned it. So the first thing was to work out how to return the jack to the bottom, because with the flat tire, now in its slightly extended state, didn't fit anymore. This in itself was a major pain. I'm like, oh, could they have made it any more frustrating? Like, there's no easy way to hold the jack and turn it. It's designed to go under the car and then elevated and de-elevated from there. So I finally get that down. Finding the jacking point itself was a challenge. Found that. Got the wheel off. Now, the Amaroks have a particular design, which is that when you take the wheels off, the bolts come out as well, which I presume looks better. It allows maybe for alloy wheels or for whatever reason. Getting it back on was a major pain. Suddenly you've got this heavy wheel with these bolts that keep falling out. And so we had to get it down, and this is all in the dark, wind it down, and then put it on. And I finally got there. It's like, hallelujah. Haven't made it to the tire shop to assess whether it can be repaired, or I've already accepted that most likely this is going to need a new tire. And it's just one of those things. It's like, you know what? I had my evening planned a little bit differently than changing a tire on the side of the road in the dark, but it got done. And as I drove home, I was like, you know what? Maybe that would have been better to be part of the NRMA, the guys that come and fix flat batteries and fix tires. I mean, they've done it so many times that it's easy for them. They have better tools. They have dealt with this before. And I was like, you know what, Tom, that was pretty dumb. Should have paid for that one just to get repaired. Did I? No. Why? I don't know. Dumb decision in the moment. I was like, oh, you know, already got to buy a new tire, already got to do all these things. I'm like, whatever. There's no particular time pressure. But ideally, going forward, join up to those guys so that when stuff happens, it's like, yeah, can you fix it? Can you fix it? Can you come? My wife is already a member. We locked her key in her car, which was pretty impressive. And to open that up required the special tools that they have. But the flat tire, not something that I'm keen to repeat, but with the pothole situation in the Byron Shire, it is a lot better than it used to be, but the pothole situation remains somewhat dire at times, and just having to accept that the potholes can take out and hurt my car. Anyway, all right, what else we got on the list? Well, production for magic boards continues, and I've been using the software. We had to go custom. We didn't have to go custom, but to use the magic boards using currently available tools is a little bit of a pain. You got to copy them, you got to move them, you got to link them. And I was like, you know what? Just need this software done. What has happened in the last 5 months is that we've gone from getting the ideas out of my head and what was already going on through to Figma, through to Bubble, to MVP, and now into improvements. And it's exciting. It's really cool. One of the big developments was that the progress bar that shows you how far you are through things has been changed. Originally, it showed all of the colors that were available to select various items, and now it's been simplified. If it's done or if it's skipped, it shows up green. If it's working on, which could be a whole bunch of different things, it shows up yellow, and it hasn't been started, then it shows up gray. And what this means is that at a glance, I can look at all of the production that's going on and see where everything is up to. And one of the additional features was that if something is marked stuck, it still shows in the yellow as a percentage of that, but also a red exclamation mark comes up next to the progress bar to say, hey, this has something that is stuck, and this task will not, or this board will not progress until that's resolved. So it's like a fairly significant warning light coming on your business dashboard to say, hey, there's a problem here. So this all went live today. It's looking great. It's way better than it was, and that was just out of the box. Like, the progress bar worked a certain way, but the team have been in and dev'd that. And now we're into a couple of cool improvements that are coming through. We're going to work on them once again in Figma, and then get them to Bubble. And this entire mechanism of working is working really well. I basically track all of the improvements that could be done on a magic board, and then we shift them through to the team to say, hey, this is our focus for the sprint, and then mark them done as they get done. And the exciting things that are coming through is there's a couple of search bars that were missing, which will go in, but more importantly is that the ability to get back to the overview will be improved. What this means is that you'll be able to go and choose where you want to end up when you're done working on that particular board. Right now, you just hit a back button and it takes you to whichever one of the 4 categories that board is assigned to: active, flow, asset, or archive. And if you hit the back, it takes you to that area. So if you've completed the work for a particular board and you mark it archived, and then you hit back, it will take you to all of the archive ones. But with the improvements that we're going to be making, it'll be like, oh, you can choose where you end up immediately. Do I want to go back to active? Do I want to go to the flow ones? Do I want to go to the assets? Do I want to go to the archive? And this will be built right into the actual active boards, matching up between both the overview of all of the work getting done, but also when you're working in a particular board coming back. So these developments are happening. This software is looking great. I mean, really, for the time frame that it has taken, it is phenomenal. And this is the benefit of the no-code revolution. Is this AI? No, this is no-code. And does AI integrate into no-code? Yes, it does. That will be something later on that we're looking at. Can we bring Llama or bring ChatGPT into the Magic Boards design? I think so. And that's going to be very exciting when it happens, but the structure has to be robust. that bringing AI into a system or a structure, that doesn't work very well, okay, it's not that great. But to have the Magic Boards design and bring AI into that, suddenly we're looking at both the option for templates and processes to be built automatically by AI. So if you need a set of results and you just click the button, it's like AI is like, hey, I recommend this template and this process, and then you're going to be able to fine tune it. That is very, very powerful. And then the big kahuna, to actually have AI do the work in the Magic Board. It's like, run this Magic Board and it does it. It does all the work and outcome the results, and then suddenly you're reviewing results instead of having to do all the work. We're not there yet. First step is to get the structure, get the operations all working. But in the time frame, we began I think I signed up in December, and we began Figma through January, and then we'll finish up this initial MVP sprint in about 3 weeks, which will take us through to early June. That's actually pretty impressive timeframes for a lot of software to get developed. So I'm really excited by it. And if you want to go check out no code, then have a look at Bubble. If you don't want to learn no code, then check out Momentum Group out of Sydney. Have been absolutely awesome. So recommendation for no code devs in Sydney is with Momentum Group. Check out Will, tell him that I sent you. And finally, we have an application of the Magic Boards that I want to share with you, which is the creation of a waitlist funnel, a priority waitlist for the founder's release of magicboards.io. If you've been listening to the podcast for a while and you're like, you know what? This Magic Boards idea seems to have some legs. If we put the instructions with the results that we want, it might make it easier to track where we're up to and get the work done really quickly. And the constraint on that is that you don't get to add columns. You don't get to add a list of money or a list of this or a list of that. If you want to do that, there is a tool that we commonly use called Excel or Google Sheets that does that really well. But Magic Boards is designed for one particular thing, and that is project management that includes the process or the steps written down. So you can see what you've got to do and know what you've got to do all in one place. This is a highly effective way to get stuff done. So if this is something that you want to check out, then now you can head over to www.magicboards.io and you will have the option to come onto the priority waitlist. When we are moving out of beta and into founders, hey, these are the people that are going to get notified. And because of what I want this to be, which is not just a software, but rather a community, a shared experience of using the software to accelerate the growth of your business, accelerate revenues, accelerate profits, to run a lean team because you're able to get things done so quickly. This is something that you can sign up for. Now, when did this funnel get decided on? Yeah, it's probably an idea maybe 3-4 days ago. When did I write the copy? Yesterday. When did we have the funnel done? Yesterday. Literally took less than 24 hours for the team to go through and convert the copy that I wrote into the funnel. And you might be impressed by that. You might not be. I don't know. But to me, the ability to go from idea to me do my part and to have the team execute within a day to get that funnel up and running is a speed of implementation that is possible because of the Magic Boards design. And the reason that that is happening is because on Magic Boards, it becomes really easy to have the copy available. Click the link, copy opens up. Click the link, the back end to the software that runs the website. We use Kajabi, opens up for that particular page. The front end link is documented, and so you can make changes and see it immediately. And we repeat that for all of the aspects that are required. The tags, got created both in a Google Doc and then also in the software. The opt-in form in a Google Doc and also in the software, all documented, all tracked, all moved from not started to working on to done, meaning that we are live quickly. And this is advantageous. The speed of implementation is a critical factor to your business success. And note that this was not AI. None of this was done with AI. Yes, my copy could have been written by AI, but the implementation across to the funnel, inserting the forms, setting up the tags, putting in the email, building the quiz. There's a quiz that comes with it. When you sign up, you're like, oh, hey, what are you looking to achieve with this software? What's your usage case? What's your team size? These questions that are useful from my perspective to know, hey, what do you want from it? Having said that, this is going to be a community. It's going to be not available. The software is not going to be available standalone. You're going to have to be part of the community, which is a good thing. Guess what? It's more fun to work together, to experience together, to troubleshoot together, to run into problems together, to solve those problems together. We're human beings, and hanging out and having this experience, well, it's a pretty cool thing. So if you want to get on that priority waitlist for the founders release, then head over to www.magicboards.io and enter your details. That's all I got for you today. I hope you got some value out of today's podcast. Thank you so much for being part of this. If you know anyone that struggles with seeing the work of the business, that's struggling with having their team not be able to execute quickly, then let them know about the podcast and also the magicboards.io website. Look forward to seeing you on the next episode as we continue this journey into making work visible, making the instructions with the results that you want. Hope you got a lot of value, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode very soon. Thanks for joining us at the Visual Workplace. This is a notification that the information and ideas discussed here are general in nature and do not take into account your specific circumstances. You should seek specialist advice for any medical, financial, emotional, mental, or other difficulties that you are facing with appropriate specialists and professionals so that they can apply your specific circumstances and give you the required advice. Thank you for joining us, but this is also a notification that all information is indeed general in nature and not specific for your personal circumstances.